Please explain how Kwame Nkrumah's prophecy about what would occur to African resources without a proper military to protect them was so accurate.
It is so accurate that it's very scary, actually. But it shows you his love for Africa. It shows you the kind of love for Africa that he had, that Marcus Garvey had for Africa. If you read Garvey's analysis, and of course he learned from Marcus Garvey. And you know, in Ghana, they have Black Star. Black Star became like a national symbol. And of course, that was borrowed from somebody who came before him, who was Marcus Garvey, and the Black Star shipping line, you know? So Marcus Garvey's analysis was apt on, but it's not surprising. If you know there's a continent that has all of the world's essential resources, and if you know they demonized to take over control, and you know they will go to any lengths. Congo, for example, under King Leopold of the Belgians.
Come be a part of history and experience the sharing of wisdom from some of the most brilliant thought leaders in our community. Come see Muda Baruka, Styles P, Nori Muhammad, Lawrence Haja, Dr. Dorothy Holly, Dejaz Mach Kwasi, Deborah Hines, and Midwife Asasia impart their wisdom at Groundings with My Brothers and Sisters, a holistic health conference. A plant-based breakfast and lunch are included. Looking forward to seeing you there.
10 million Congolese exterminated just to extract resources. So Nkrumah knew this history and realized if they can kill 10 million in one country alone, how are they going to stop behaving the same way just because you claim you're now independent? What is to stop them from coming in? Not all independent countries are treated the same. As you know, Israel is a small country, it's an independent country, right? But Israel does not stand alone. When you talk Israel, you're talking United States. So when you think Israel, economy, military, sovereignty, you know it's protected by a superpower. But when you talk about African countries individually, you see how weak they are, right? They have small militaries, they have weak economies, they don't manufacture. There's not a single industrialized country in Africa. That's the sad part. But what is even much, much, much more sadder is that even though they have the most arable, fertile land in the world, Africa imports food. Just think about that. That to me is the profound and most sad element of all. And I don't remember the page number, but Nkrumah writes about that in Neocolonialism, the last stage of imperialism. He said, let's not surrender our food independence. If you can't feed yourself, then colonialism exists. He warns about that. Today, Africa spends $35 billion with a B, not M, to import food, and there's still food shortage. When they can use that money to transform Africa's economies, in fact, it would be better if they were importing that food from other African countries. I'm talking importing food from Europe and the United States with $34 billion that's being taken out of the continent, not benefiting a single African country. Nkrumah spoke about that. Nkrumah spoke about having weak militaries. He said Balkanized African countries. That's what he called them, Balkanized, small, small countries. We will not be able to withstand the West. It has been proven 100% correct. Let me go back to the example of Libya. The African Union, which is the successor organization of the Organization of African Unity, which was founded in Ethiopia in 1963 when there were a few African countries that had just won their independence, not all of them. And they said, this is going to be the organization that brings us together. Now it's the African Union. The African Union wanted to end the Libyan conflict. So the president of South Africa at that time, Jacob Zuma, went to negotiate with Gaddafi. And Gaddafi agreed. So fine. What did he agree on? To hold elections that he would not supervise. He said the West can come and supervise it, but I want to be a candidate as well. That's my only condition. Yeah, let's cease fire, all sides stop fighting. You say, it won't be a free election. It will be, because I'm not going to conduct it. You guys conduct it. Let them come and run it. But I want to be a candidate. They didn't buy onto that because they knew as a candidate, people will remember the things he did for the country. And most likely he would have been elected. He had not been elected after he seized power, right? All these years. But he knew. He was that confident. He was more confident than the West, right? Because they didn't allow that to happen. But here's the part that I wanted to bring up. In order for Jacob Zuma to go and meet with Gaddafi, he had to get permission from the West, from NATO, because that imposed a no-fly zone. So you have an African president. Here, Nkrumah would be rolling in his grave, really. African president of South Africa, one of the premier African countries, right? Asking the West, please, can I go get permission to fly to Libya without my plane getting shot down? I don't think you need any better example of that African countries are not independent and that Nkrumah's predictions have come 100% to fruition.